I mean, is there a way that I can really make this a hot look? I don't know. Hi everybody, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to attempt to eloquently and coherently put together an argument for owning your uniquenesses and your differences and reframing them so that you think about them as strengths rather than something to be ashamed of or something that sets you back. And I have a little story that goes along with this. I clearly just don't know how to wear this hat. Anyway, stick around if you'd like to see me put this makeup on my face and hear me talk about weaknesses or differences actually being your biggest strengths and how to use them to your advantage. Here goes nothing. I hope you like it. So, I have already applied my eye primer and I'm just going to do my brows. I'm using the Benecos brow pencil. I've had it for ages. About a year ago, I did a YouTube video for another channel. I learned about it from a friend that I had made on my previous job. She messaged me to say that they needed about 20 little people to show up and do this video for a YouTuber in London, Soho. And, it's a paid gig, and she said all you need is a Leprechaun costume. And I said, sure. Because I was still kind of riding the high of having had like a paid acting gig the previous year. It had only been a few months since I'd finished that. Like most things, and you kind of want to break into it a little bit, the general advice that you get is say yes to everything. So I said yes. And initially I was quite excited. I started to have second thoughts about it. I actually felt like not that good about it. And I definitely, after the video was done, I didn't really tell many people what I was doing that day. And I definitely didn't share it much when the video came out, which was a couple of weeks after this. I think part of the reason that I felt kind of embarrassed about it was just because you're being asked to dress as something diminutive, like a leprechaun. It didn't sit well with me, I think. That was all to do with how I thought at the time. And I've done quite a lot of work on self-acceptance in the last couple of years. If anyone is interested to know, I'm using this little elf palette. So I'm going to go with this gold colour, this really shimmery gold. It's very pretty. Nevertheless, I got on the train and I went up to London and I did the video. And like I said, I was quite embarrassed to tell anybody about what I was doing. I didn't share the video, I didn't talk about it. And it was only very recently that I actually shared it with some people that I work with now. And they loved it. They thought it was great. They thought it was loads of fun. I think what happened is I was taking myself way too seriously. I didn't want to do something that felt kind of cringy and embarrassing. Honestly, once I was there with all the other people who are like me, and we were in a group of 20, the looks that we got from people ranged from amused and entertained to confused to annoyance, actually, a couple of them. But while we were there, some people wanted photos because the sheer novelty of having so many small people running around Soho, it was fun. And what would I have done on any other Monday? It was a totally different way to spend a Monday. I made new friends, and it was paid. I think at some point I'd got it in my head that to do something like that was demeaning and not really worthy of my time. One of the things that I was told when I was doing my acting degree, and yes, I went to university to do an acting degree, was that I would not get any other roles to play than children. I never completed the acting degree because honestly, it wasn't where I wanted to be. And I was kind of made to feel like there wasn't a place for me in that world, that the only thing I could ever expect to be was to have a child role. And the irony is that I didn't get that degree. I'm still ended up in the acting world and I didn't need a degree in the first place. Those things that you've perceived as your weaknesses, as, something that has held you back or that sets you apart, flip that on its head and use it to your advantage. At first I was like, oh, I don't really want people to know about it because it was embarrassing, but actually it really wasn't that embarrassing at all. I was utilizing my uniqueness to my advantage. It wasn't exactly the feeling of having my power taken away from me, but at the time that's kind of how it felt, because it felt like I was demeaning myself for other people's entertainment. But actually, that really wasn't what was happening. That's the way I was thinking about it at the time. But when you own your differences, when you're accepting of your differences and can find a way to use them to your advantage, you shift all of the power back to yourself. So when I did my acting degree and I was made to feel like the only thing I could ever get would be a child role, that was kind of framed as like a problem. That was like, well, you can only ever really expect to get this. When actually, my experience has been totally different. I've now learned that people of my size, if you want to be in the acting world, then you can do so much fun stuff. You can be an alien species, you could be a leprechaun, you could be a dwarf, you could be on the stage in pantomime, or you could be in film, and you could be in TV series and stuff, and it's so much fun. And I didn't know about that at that point, and I just felt like because of my size, it was limiting me. But actually, once I understood that I could use my size to my advantage to get even more exciting and rare opportunities, suddenly that was a game changer. And yeah, you do need to say yes to some stuff, because you never know who you might meet, and you don't know where that might take you. Like if I hadn't met my friend on this job that I had before, I would never have done the leprechaun thing. And I would be here making this video. You get to choose how you feel about things, right? You get to choose how you use things to your advantage. And it's all within your power. Just because you're different, just because you have something that sets you apart from most other people, doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can actually be a really good thing. The way that I've chosen to sort of reframe this for myself is that day I was being paid to do the work. I was being paid for a specific role that I could do. Although the acting was very light, it wasn't really acting at all, it was more of an entertainment thing. I reframed that in my head as I am a specialist and I'm being paid for my specialism, which is to turn up as myself, basically, in my 4'6" and do the thing that someone who is an average height couldn't do, because they simply don't fit the role. It's the same for any other actor. You get chosen for things based on not only your talent for acting, but also how suitable you are for the role. I think that there are lines as to like what's exploitation and what's not exploitation. I did not feel exploited that day. I could have chosen to feel exploited, but you know what? Nobody was mean. Nobody made fun of me. Nobody was like, haha, look at all those short people. People were curious, people took photos, people were amused and entertained by what we were doing. And that was actually really fun. It was really fun. And not anything to be ashamed of, to be honest. I did it on my own terms. And when you do things on your own terms, you shift the power back to yourself. It really does depend on how you choose to think about it. I could have continued to feel embarrassed about that video, but that was really just all coming from me. And if I choose to change my mindset and I choose to think differently about it, then all that power comes back to me. Basically, my ego got in the way and thought I was too good for it. As the truth is that I'm not. I was just thinking that way. Because probably I have some old programming that goes something along the lines of small people have been exploited, and therefore anything that the small people do, because of their height is exploitation, and that's just not the case. So I guess the point that I'm making is like, is there something about you that sets you apart from other people that maybe you've been perceiving as a weakness, when actually, when you reframe it, you could really play it to your strengths. It could be to your advantage. But to be honest, like I never thought I would return to acting. I thought it was a phase of my life that I was done with and that I wouldn't ever revisit it. And I've chosen to make this my superpower rather than viewing it as something to feel bad about. We've all got something. We've all got different strengths and weaknesses. We all look different. What if that thing that you thought was holding you back was actually a superpower? What if if you reframed it and thought about it in a totally different way to the point where actually it could really work to your advantage? How would that change things for you? Because for me, it was so empowering to find not only that there is a place for me within the acting community, but that I can actually be a specialist. And that sometimes that means that I get paid slightly more for my specialism, and that I can do a really wide variety of things. I invite you to be courageous. I invite you to take back your power and become aware of where you've been giving it away. And I invite you to bring it back. Call it all back to yourself. Because you are worthy and you deserve it and you can. You know, some people use their differences to become an advocate. Some people use their differences to do something amazing. I think we all deserve to live in a world that's more like that than one where we're thinking, oh, I couldn't do that because of this. I think basically it's made me more open to work like this in the future. It's important to have one's buckle. Just so. I really wanted to have like pointed ears for this, but I didn't get my act together in time. So basically what I think I'm saying is play to your strengths. Play to your uniqueness, because that is you. Okay, well, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking around. I'm still messing with my hair. So if you got to the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you have a wonderful day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll be back with another one really soon. Bye, guys.
If it's